This video will show you the Idaho STAR objectives and directions for the skill evaluation. You'll listen to the instructors giving directions on the range and watch the riders practicing the exercises. Let's start with the introduction.
We will begin the skill evaluation. The skill evaluation consists of 5 exercises that evaluate your ability to perform basic vehicle control, riding judgment, and hazard response skills that have been taught and practiced in this course. Throughout the entire test, you will be scored on time and distance standards as well as path and foot down violations. The test may be terminated due to falling or dropping the motorcycle or committing an unsafe act. You may stop the test for any reason, but you must complete the entire test to pass it. Do you have any questions?
To recap, remember that during all 5 exercises, the rider is scored on time and distance standards, path of travel, and foot down violations. Exercises 1 and 2 are the offset cone weave and swerve.
Okay, this is the offset cone weave and swerve. The objective: you will ride through a cone weave and execute a proper swerve maneuver. Directions: line up at the cones facing the weave. One at a time and on signal, ride to the right of the first cone, left of the second cone, and continue weaving past all the cones without hitting or skipping a cone or putting your foot down. When you pass the last cone, continue riding the perimeter and around the pivot cone. Stabilize your speed at 15 miles per hour. Ride between the last set of cones. Then swerve to the left. Stay within the boundaries. Do not brake while swerving. Slow and turn left around the pivot cone and get back in line. Do you have any questions? All right, go ahead and put your gear on.
During the cone weave, the rider rides right of the first cone, then left of the second, and continues weaving. You can see that the rider's head and eyes are up, looking where he wants the motorcycle to go. He's also using the clutch to control speed. After the rider rounds the pivot cone, he approaches the swerve at about 15 miles per hour. Then he'll pass through the gate and will swerve left. Riders are assessed points for errors. Riders will be scored in the offset cone weave for hitting a cone, skipping a cone, or putting a foot down. Penalties for the swerve are braking during the swerve maneuver, touching or crossing boundary lines or cones, not attaining proper speed, and swerving prior to the gate cones. Exercise 3 is cornering proficiency.
All right, the next evaluation is cornering proficiency. Objective: you will demonstrate cornering proficiency. Directions: one at a time and on signal, accelerate through the first turn and upshift to second gear. Round the pivot cone and ride toward the second turn. Stabilize your speed between 15 and 20 miles per hour. Use both brakes to slow to a suitable entry speed. Turn your head and apply steady or slightly increasing throttle through the curve. Stay within the boundaries. Ride through the curve as rapidly as you safely can. After exiting the turn, come to a stop next to the large cone. Get back in line and wait for further instructions. Do you have any questions?
Here, the rider accelerates through the first turn and upshifts to second gear. He rides around the pivot cone toward the second turn, stabilizing speed at 15 to 20 miles per hour. The rider uses both brakes to slow, turns his head, applies throttle, and stays within the boundaries. Scoring penalties in cornering proficiency are not using both brakes to slow prior to the turn, not turning head to look through the turn, decelerating in the curve, touching or crossing boundary lines or cones, and not meeting the speed requirement. Exercise 4 is the sharp turn.
All right, the next evaluation is the sharp turn. The objective: you will execute a proper sharp turn. Directions: one at a time and on signal, ride towards the sharp turn. Turn your head and execute a tight turn without hitting a boundary or cone or putting your foot down. After completing the maneuver, ride up the center of the range and turn left. Line up at the large cone. Wait for further instructions. Do you have any questions?
As the rider approaches the sharp turn, she turns her head and executes a 90-degree turn inside the boundaries. Scoring penalties for the sharp turn are not turning your head and looking through the turn, touching or crossing boundary lines or cones, and putting a foot down. Exercise 5 is the quick stop.
Okay, the next evaluation is the quick stop. The objective, you will stop the motorcycle as quickly and safely as possible. Directions, one at a time and on signal, approach the stopping area at about 15 miles per hour in second gear. Maintain your speed. When your front tire reaches the large cone, stop in the shortest distance possible, downshifting to first gear. Remain stopped until your distance is measured, then return up the center of the range and get back in line and wait for further instructions. Do you have any questions?
The rider approaches the stopping area at about 15 miles per hour in second gear. Notice that when the front tire reaches the large cones, he stops quickly, downshifting to first gear. Scoring penalties for the quick stop are not using both brakes, not downshifting to first gear, stopping beyond the standard, not attaining proper speed, and braking too soon. Thank you. We hope that this video has helped to answer some of the questions you might have about the skill evaluation. Hope to see you in a class soon.